This week's Parsha, Parshas Kiseitse, has many, many mitzvahs in it. And it's a fascinating study to understand the parameters and the reasoning behind each of the mitzvahs. In addition, there's a whole separate study of why these mitzvahs are brought together, why mitzvah A precedes B and why B follows A and so on. And as much as I'd love to have a class, to give a class about this, I can't say I've studied the material yet, and I certainly don't have time to teach such a lengthy class. But I picked one mitzvah which I'd like to study a little bit and see the relevance of it on a deeper level in our lives. There's a mitzvah, the pasuk says, Kisivna bayis chodosh. When you build a new house, vasisa Michael gagecha, you shall make a fence, a border, a wall around your roof. You will not place blood in your house. If somebody, God forbid, will fall. So there are a couple of obvious questions here. There's a mitzvah of Micah. In other words, you have a roof. Somebody's on the roof. God forbid they could fall. So you have an obligation to make sure people don't get hurt. You put a fence around the roof. The same mitzvah would apply to your swimming pool. Put a fence around your swimming pool as well to ensure that, God forbid, something terrible doesn't happen there, as we've heard cases in the past. Why does the Torah talk about a gag, about a roof specifically? Second of all, the pasuk says, Kisivna bayis chodesh, when you build a new house. What about the house that I bought 11 years ago, that my wife and I bought, that was not a new house? Do we not have an obligation of Micah of putting up a wall around the roof there? If it's for danger, it'll apply for both. So there's one separate discussion of what the halachic parameters, what the legal parameters are of this mitzvah. But then there's what, on a deeper level, the significance of these nuances are. Why does it talk about a new house, and why does it talk about the roof? Says the Nesivos Shalom, the great rabbi of Slonim, the Slonim Rebbe, that perhaps we can understand this mitzvah on a little bit of a deeper level. Kisivna bayis chodesh. What's this new house that you're building? You know what this house is? Yourself. What we refer to as your olam pnimi. We have an internal world. We live in the world as we know it. We take care of stuff. We do activities. We go places. We eat. We drive. We exercise. We work, and so on. We sleep. We wake up. And then there's an olam pnimi. There's an inner world. And in that inner world, we're developing something hopefully very spiritual and meaningful. But what happens when I look at my inner world and I see that inner world is rotten? There's termites, spiritual termites in my inner world that have eaten away at my world. I need to rebuild it. I need to rebuild my house. What do I need to do? It's a bayis chodesh. It's a new house. I know that things are, that maybe the foundations of the house. And what are the foundations of your house? Your character traits, your midos, your wonderful character traits. And what if I have character traits that are flawed? What if I get angry often? What if I have a very negative view about other people? What if I can't control my impulse control? What if I have a lethargy and no desire to do anything meaningful? What if I don't care about my spiritual world and my relationship with Hashem? So my world has rotten away. I have to rebuild that world. What's the first thing I have to do? The first thing I have to do is I have to build a Micah. I have to build a wall around my roof. What's that wall? Micah in Hebrew is spelled Mem Ayin Kuf He. We know that each letter in the Hebrew alphabet has a numerical value, has a gematria. Mem is 40, Ayin is 70, Kuf is 100, He is 5, which gives you 215. Says the son of Rebbe, that's the same numerical value as the word Yirah. Yirah is actually 216, one more. But in Gematria, there's something called the Kolel. The Kolel is that there's the numerical value of all the letters added together, plus one for the value of the word itself. So Yirah, awe, fear, is 216, Micah is 215, which essentially is the same gematria. The first step you have to do in building your inner world is you have to put a wall around it. You have to ensure that you don't get hurt, you don't fall off. When we walk around the edge, it's so easy to fall. Don't walk around the edge. Don't have an edge. Have security. A perfect example of this is we all have smartphones. Do you have a filter for your smartphone? Just yesterday, my filter is a fairly strong filter. And yesterday I had to go on a Torah website. I had to log in for this particular website, something I've done a dozen times over the last year. And it's something very benign. It's a Torah website, and it's just logging in some information. And for some reason, it wouldn't allow me on. So it's a little annoying. And I know people in my family who have filters on their phones, and the reaction when a filter blocks something is, this is so annoying, this is so stupid, I got to get rid of it. Get rid of this filter, put a new filter on, take off a filter. I don't want to have a filter. It's a small price to pay for having yirah, for having security, having that fear of Hashem. Small price to pay, having to wait a little bit. Think back to 20 years ago, to your dial-up internet, and how you'd get knocked off the line because somebody called in, and you're in the middle of doing all this work online, typing up this information, sending a long email, and boom, you got knocked off, you lost all the information. So the fact that you can't get to a particular aspect of one website today, not the end of the world, but put up the mica. And there are many other micas you can have. When it comes to Lashon Hara, if I find that I'm speaking negatively about people, maybe I'll notice that certain people trigger me. Maybe I avoid those people, or avoid certain conversations with those people. Or maybe I notice when I talk about certain people, I immediately get angry. Whether it's your mother-in-law or whoever it might be. Not my mother-in-law, maybe your mother-in-law. Whoever it might be, you get angry. So maybe don't talk about that person. Maybe certain situations fire you up in a negative way. So avoid the situation. Avoid it. Have a mica. Have that fence around yourself in order not to fall. Something so important. That's step number one. But we said it's the roof, it's the wall around your roof. Why your roof? Because the roof is synonymous with your head. Your head is what you're trying to build. You're trying to develop your head. There are 7 entryways into your 7 parts. 7, well, you'll see what I mean, and you'll come up with the right word on your own. 7 parts of the head. There's the 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and a mouth. I shouldn't say entryways, but I guess ways of not literally physically entering, but through the eyes you can see and take in information. Through the ears you can hear, mouth you can eat, your nostrils you can breathe, you can take in. And those need shmirah. They need gardens. They need safeguarding. You need to be careful. And, each one of them has their own filter. You have to find a filter. Because it's so easy without even realizing that you say things. Things just slip out and you don't even realize. I always say a story of how shortly after my wife and I got married, we got our first credit card bill. I'd never seen a credit card bill before because the credit card bills, when I was single, went to my father's house, didn't go to my dorm room in yeshiva, so I never saw the credit card bills. My wife had been paying credit card bills for years. Credit card bill comes, and my wife wanted to empower me. She had me open the mail and look at the bills. And the bill was some insane sum of money, like maybe $675 credit card bill. What I would give for a $675 credit card bill today. But in any case, the bill comes, and without even realizing it, I had this verbal vomit. These words just vomited out of my mouth. And I said, "Where'd you spend all the money?" Imagine those words spilling out of your mouth right after you've gotten married. Wow. Those words can decide a marriage. Thank God I married a very special woman. And her response in a very even-keeled voice was, "I think I may have had some help spending the money. I think I may have had some help spending that money." And as soon as she said that, I was like, right. This expenditure was me. This was me. This was me. This was me. I probably spent more money than her. But we need a filter for our mouth because words come out without even realizing they're coming out. We look at things and we don't even realize we've looked at them till after the fact. We listen in on conversations. We hear things we shouldn't hear. We need a Micah. The Micah, the fence is Yirah Shamayim, is that fear. You know, there's two different emotions, primary emotions in Torah. There's fear and there's love. When you see somebody you love, you haven't seen in a while, you see one of your children you haven't seen in a while, your natural reaction is you reach out to them. You go close to them. When you see someone you're intimidated of, you're fearful of, you draw back. Our relationship in spiritual matters has to be based first on fear. Not just fear of what's going to happen, I'll get punished or something like that, but that's not what I'm talking about. But fear of I don't want to mess up. I have something great going on right now. I have something so meaningful I don't want to mess up. I don't want to. And therefore I have to be careful. And that's the Micah. So the Bayis Chodosh, the new house, is the house I'm building inside of me. The Gag is my head. But says the Salomar that we can take this a little further. There's a concept called Ashan. Ashan is an acronym for Olam Shana Nefesh. Olam is the world, space. And there are high points in the world. The high point, of course, is the land of Israel. High point in the land of Israel is Yerushalayim, is Jerusalem. The high point of Yerushalayim is the old city, the actual city of Yerushalayim. The high point in there is the Har HaBayis, is the Temple Mount. The high point there is the Beis HaMikdash, is the Temple Mount, is the temple. The high point there is the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies, and so on. Shana is the year in time. There are high points in time. There's Rosh Hashanah, there's Yom Kippur, there's Shabbos, there's other holidays. And then Nefesh is the human being, the soul, the human being. The high point in me is my soul, is my head. My head, my brain. That's the high part of who I am. So, Kisivna Bayis Chodesh, I'm building a new house, not just a new house in the realm of space, but a new house in the realm of time. What's that new house that I have to put a gag, I have to put a roof? I'm building a new house, Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the head of the year. I have to prepare for Rosh Hashanah. I have a month of Elul. What should I be doing during the month of Elul? I should be preparing. I should be thinking about what I want to create in that new house. Each year I get to build a new house in my life, in my eternal world, in my neshama, in my soul. What do I want to build? What do I want to change? What's rotten? Let's look hard. Let's look deep inside ourselves. What's rotten? What has to be changed? What has to be worked on? And build it. That's what I want to do. And I need a Micah. I need Yira. I need to look at what has not been working. What do I need? What steps do I need to take? Are there relationships that I need to fix, and I need to be more careful in my relationships? I need to be more, I don't need to become perfect. That should not be the focus. But what's not working, and what's one or two steps I can take in those areas to ensure things will start working? If I do that, we have 3 weeks to Rosh Hashanah. This Shabbos is 3 weeks to Rosh Hashanah. Let's take time to start thinking, what's that Bayis Chodesh? What's that new house I want to build? And what do I want to place within that? And what's the safeguards that I need to have in place? If I do that, then I'm ready for Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah is not when I want to start planning. Rosh Hashanah is when I want to start carnating Hashem. Carnating Hashem means taking Hashem in my life, so humbling myself to Hashem, submitting myself. There's somebody higher. There's a higher being that I relate to, that I commit to, that I understand loves me and cares about me, and I don't want to lose that relationship. So I need the yira, I need the awe, I need the fear now to see what I need to get into place so that I'm ready to take on the relationship on a whole new level, in a whole new way this Rosh Hashanah. So let's take the next 3 weeks and let's think about it. Don't overwhelm yourself. Well, what's a few areas where things maybe haven't been working? Things haven't been going exactly right. Have I been davening? Have I been davening? Have I been praying with the proper kavanah, with the proper intent? What about mitzvahs? What about my shalom bayis? What about my relationship to my spouse? What about relationship to friends? What hasn't been working? And don't get into what's wrong with them. We can always find lots of things wrong with them, but there's no power. There's no power in blaming others. Because you see, we have a very deep desire. And that deep desire is to look good. We want to look good. You look in the mirror before you walk out of the house. Maybe you brush your hair. Not only do we want to look good in terms of our physical body, we want people to think highly of us. You're sitting with a bunch of people at a table and there's one cookie left and you want that cookie. You're not going to take that last cookie because what are people going to think about you? You're in a meeting and you have a question because you don't really understand the presentation at the meeting. But what's going to happen if you ask that question and you look stupid? Ooh, maybe he's not as smart as I thought he was. Maybe she's not up to the task. I'm nervous. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to say anything because I want to look good. I get caught not filling a project at work. So what happens? I blame my coworkers. Well, this guy was out. This guy missed a day of work. This person was delinquent in their responsibilities. She didn't take care of what she was. So it's all their fault. You know what? I come out looking squeaky clean. I look great. It's not my fault. But there's a problem. The problem is if it's everyone else's fault, it means everyone else has the power. The power's all in their hands. The power's in their hands. I can't do anything. I'm powerless. I'm weak. You don't want to be weak. You want to be powerful. You can blame your friends for relationships. You can blame Hashem. You can blame your parents. You can blame and so on. But it doesn't get you any place. Because all it winds up is you're a powerless human being. Take the power in your hands and look deep in yourself. What's not working? And have yira. We talk about yiras chet. Fear of sin. Fear of sin. But the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, in Ethics of the Fathers, talks about yirat cheto. Yiras cheto. Fear of his sin. A person should have fear of his sin or her sin. To which the Maharal asks, he says, maybe I haven't sinned. Question seems very far-fetched because I know I've sinned. And all the people around me, I can come up with sins that they've done. But in any case, maybe there is a person who didn't sin. Why does the Mishnah say everyone should have fear of their own sin? Says the Maharal, the word sin means to miss the mark, to be deficient. We all have areas where we're deficient. We all have areas that we grapple with. One person grapples with feeling joy and gratitude, another person with motivation, another person with impulse control, another person with not getting angry. Everyone grapples. And we grapple with multiple things, but perhaps we have one core issue that we grapple with most. Well, that's at the core of all our grappling and all our struggles. Yiras chet, I have to have fear of where I'm fault, where I'm deficient, where I'm missing the mark, where things are missing in my life. When I do that, then I can put up a mica, I can put up safeguards. And again, don't take on everything. Take on one or two areas where I'm motivated to, where I want to deal with, and come up with a plan. Your plan is your mica. And part of that mica is maybe avoid certain situations, avoid certain people, avoid certain temptations, whatever it might be. Set up situations so that you can't even get to that temptation. One of the people in the community told me something so beautiful. They said they have a Meiser account. They tithe. There's a mitzvah, one of the mitzvahs in Torah to give tzedakah, to give charity, but there's also a mitzvah to tithe, to give Meiser. Now, if you're struggling to make ends meet, you're not obligated to tithe. There are many exceptions to it, but in general, there's a concept of tithing. But the problem is the money comes into your account, you get your paycheck, you want to spend it on things, and even good things, and even if you're saving, but you don't want to write a check to someone else for tzedakah. It's hard to do that. So what these people did is they set up a situation where 10% of their earnings immediately go to a second account and they don't even see it. So as far as they're concerned, it never happened. But what happens is that money adds up in that account, and when tzedakah is needed, they're able to give immediately. That's a mica. That's a fence around the mitzvah of Meiser, of tithing, a way that they're sure they're going to do that. Let's take this on. It's the time of Elul. It's the time to build a Bayis Chodesh. It's time to build a new house. And the new house you have to place around the roof, around your head. You have to be sure. You have to be safe. You have to place a safeguard. You have to place a fence around there. And now Elul is the time to build that new house. Think about where your yirah, where your fear has to be, where your safeguards have to be. And then when you start from there, then you can start building the joy inside your world as well. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Let's get to work. We have 3 weeks. Let's make it happen. Let's gear up for an awesome new year. This past year was challenging. Things happened we never thought would happen. Let's plan for this coming year. There's a lot more to talk about. I hope in the next few weeks we'll talk more about Rosh Hashanah. We'll get ready for it. But for now, have a wonderful Shabbos and a wonderful avodah, a wonderful work of Elul, internal work. And be in touch. Let me know what you're working on. Or let me know if you want suggestions or you want ideas on how to make it practical and relevant. And let's brainstorm together. Let's see what we come up with. Good Shabbos. I hope I'll see you over Shabbos. It's going to be very hot. But maybe I'll see you in shul. Maybe you'll come visit and we'll sit inside and we'll study some Torah together. Good Shabbos.